Good afternoon, friends. Steve Benoon here with Israeli News Live, and we're going to be talking about quite a few things going on in the world today, and I'll just kind of highlight some of it for you. We'll talk about the first screen here, next few screens here in just a few minutes there, but we're going to be talking about the president. Of course, he has gone to the hospital. My own doctor texted me tonight, totally blown away by this. I'll get into that with you tonight. Also, we're dealing with the Azerbaijan and Armenians really pushing towards war. And of course, another incident, Azerbaijan bombing a bus with journalists in it. Not directly, but it just happened to happen as a result. Going to be talking a little bit about Syria preparing to do an operation near the Golan border there of Israel. Not too far from it there. Get into that a little bit. And of course, also this alleged peace deal that may be going on between Syria and Israel. Is it really true? How is Syria responding to this? I personally can believe that it's happening, but we know that Damascus is going to be taken out one way or the other. Israel will be involved in that as well as the United States. And I am really expecting that to happen pretty soon there. But Syria is rejecting that. They stand with the Palestinians, according to the article that we're going to be getting into here. And Netanyahu is not ruling out a preemptive strike on Iran. So we are really on the verge of some very serious issues there. And of course, the president finally comes out and condemning white supremacy. I'll play a little clip of that for you. And, I have to tell you, regardless of the intel that I'm getting on the Messiah of Israel, and that being a former Israeli commander, I just can't seem to break away completely from Jared Kushner as possibly being that key figure. I say that, I'll explain it when I get into this here at the end of the broadcast here. Let's get back started at the very beginning. And this was, of course, wait a minute, I'm sorry, this is a new video that I just ran across today from Brazil. This is, of course, dated October the 1st, 9:04 p.m. there, and they're showing several clips there of asteroids, or a single asteroid, not asteroids, plural, coming in and hitting the ground, of course, lighting up the sky as it came in. There goes another version of it right there. Let me back up, though. Hang on just a second. Let me just see something here. All right. Okay. It goes down. All right. Yeah. So it's two different clips. The other one's seen from a city angle. They show you there. It's coming off there to your right side of the screen, I guess, like some kind of a cam there. This one catches it, I think, in the background there. This asteroid coming out. All the same asteroid there you're seeing in your pictures there. This one shows it off of some kind of, I guess, satellite cam. I don't know exactly how that is, but lights up pretty big. And then, of course, this one right here coming in as well. Pretty huge as far as lighting up the sky. And I was actually in a conference call, actually two conference calls today. And only the second one, though, they're talking about the end of October, November. And again, I have no clue about whether these things are fully accurate. Is there going to be the rods of God? That's another one I keep wondering about. Are we going to have false flag, rods of God type scenario? And they blame it on asteroids. But clearly what happened here in Brazil, what happened just yesterday, that one there, the one there over Pennsylvania, these are just regular, small asteroids coming in. And it was, because one thing I've been trying to get some clarification on is whether or not the reason why they're not being spotted so easily is because of them coming in from the direction of the sun. My FEMA engineer did confirm, he confirmed that with me today, that it is because they come in from the direction of the sun. So maybe that's why we're not getting anything about this type things there. I don't know what size these would be here anyway, the ones that are coming in now, but they do appear to be small and not so much big in size. But Another thing, going back to that March letter I shared with you guys back a while back from my Pentagon friend, uh, all the different weather changes, the Draco storms, he wasn't calling them Draco storms, but 100 plus mile an hour storms that hit out like across, he actually names Nebraska as one of the places there, but also hurricanes, increased number of hurricanes. Here we are in October. Tropical depression 25 has strengthened into a tropical storm Gamma in the Western Caribbean Sea. And look at the formation already right here. I'm really beginning to wonder if that one is not going to turn into a hurricane as well. If it does, I know that already we are at kind of like a record year. There's, I think, only 6 other times in history do we have, I forget the number of storms that were named that actually come into the Gulf like that. Well, if this one ends up going into the Gulf and it turns into a hurricane, that might actually break the record. I don't know. Maybe not. I have to start with my son on that one. He's the brains on weather. I mean, this guy, he knows his stuff. So he'll let me know, and then I can update you guys on that as well. Anyway, the president, let me go into this one right here. This is on the New York Times, president in hospital as he battles COVID, right? Now he's wearing his mask, boy. They got him wearing that mask now. Took him a little while to make him become compliant to the MK Ultra techniques there. And, this really smells like something's going on. This is so bad. My own doctor actually texted me tonight. He says, incredibly sinister that they take him to the hospital. He says he was walking and talking. Why would you take someone to the hospital in that condition? Why not just stay at the White House? If he gets worse, then sure, take him. But why now? Why would you inject the president of the U.S. with an experimental IV drug? How do you know that it won't harm him? All this does not make sense. That's right there from my own doctor. Good friend of mine, and he's texting me that type of information. That's a doctor that's paying attention to what's going on. He knows something's up. Well, I called him. We talked for about an hour or so, He said, I can't believe it. I just can't believe that the president of the United States, with as much medical team that he has, even at the White House, that they would just up and whisk him off to the hospital. He said they could do anything to this man once they get him there. He said, and if they decide now that, of course, he's got COVID, something could happen to him, he said nobody would never know the difference. They would just assume COVID took him out. But, and he's also told me, he's known for a fact people being tested for COVID will get test positive that don't have not one trace of COVID. Oh, man. Well, anyway, let's move on though. Here's the president right here. This was, I think, from Sputnik News there. Thanks, supporters, for the well wishes. Let's just listen into the president for a moment here.
Thank everybody for the tremendous support. I'm going to Walter Reed Hospital. I think I'm doing very well, but we're going to make sure that things work out. The First Lady is doing very well. So thank you very much. I appreciate it. I will never forget it. Thank you.
You know what? If he really does have any kind of little flu-like virus or something, give the man some vitamin C by Bane and get him over what's wrong with him. Seriously, are we really going to be this naive in this country? The Chinese even did the test over there. They actually did a testing to see if it would actually work, because an American doctor who was a Chinese American goes there and explains to them that vitamin C intravenously would help their patients. And they did the placebo with the real vitamin C and discovered that doctor was right. But if you dare bring that out on the internet, Google will make sure they ban you right off the internet and not let you speak that word. Oh, yeah. Anyway, let's move on here. Azerbaijan bombs bus carrying Russian, Armenian, and U.S. media personnel. This is according to some of the RIA correspondent who had wrote about this. The third targeted incident in 2 days in Karabakh, region, RA Novosti, reported that a bus carrying media personnel from Russia, Armenia, and along with an American volunteer had been bombed by Azerbaijan. That's the area right there. You can see Azerbaijan. We got right here Armenia to the left of your screen. I'll back it out just a little bit so you can see that a little bit better. So you understand where this is in the region of things. Just south of Georgia, also a little tiny country in there, and just above Georgia is Russia. And of course, to the south is Turkey and Iran. And always disputes going on between Armenia and Azerbaijan. And of course, that little red dot right there, that is the Karbaka there, where they say that Azerbaijan hit that bus at there. Moving on to Syria, the Syrian army is preparing for new operation near the occupied Golan Heights there. And by the way, that is in right there. Let me just zoom in on this little area right there so you can see where it's at. A little small town right there called Kanakar. And that's where they're going to be focused at. I'm a little concerned about this because anytime Syria does any kind of operations trying to weed out the little terrorists that are backed by, unfortunately, the U.S., Saudi Arabia, and often Israel as well, that Israel end up bombing the Syrian military, claiming that the Iranians are trying to get closer. This is such a junk going on. And then we get Jewish Life and several other news outlets are reporting there that Israel is holding secret peace talks with Syria. And maybe they are. It says, according to a report by the London-based pro-Saudi Asharq al-Wasat on Sunday, there is now widespread belief among Arab diplomats that Syria and Israel have resumed secret negotiations similar to the unofficial talks conducted between Bashar al-Assad's regime and Ehud Olamar's government in 2008. While there has been no official confirmation of the talks, the Arab diplomats have noted that Syria declined to condemn either Bahrain or the UAE for recognizing Israel and establishing formal relationships with the Jewish state, while Iran, the Syrian regime's closest ally, publicly lambasted Bahrain and UAE for making peace with Israel. And it might be because after what happened over there in Beirut, we won't say a whole lot about that, will we? You know what happens. In fact, this video here, probably in its entirety, will not be allowed to air on YouTube because you know what YouTube does when we speak about things that are truthful. Syria rejects any agreement with Israel. Now, this is according to the Amman news agency here. Said on Thursday, the Syrian Ministry of Foreign Affairs stated that it will remain against any agreements or treaties with Israel because it harms Arab causes, foremost of which is the Palestinian cause. They continue to reiterate that through this article right here. So they are claiming they will not be a part of that. Also, Netanyahu, here on September 29th, I missed this article a couple of days ago. Preemptive strike against Iran is still an option. He's not ruling out. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu warned that Israel has not ruled out preemptive strike against Iran during a memorial service on Tuesday for those who fell in 1973 Yom Kippur War. And I know there's something going on this week. Don't know yet what it is, but I am concerned that we still could end up seeing a war on Iran and a preemptive strike in that type of war. Very much troubling to me to hear about this, but, it is what it is. Also, Trump comes out and says he is against the white supremacist groups. Let's just listen in as he's talking there with Hannity.
Any difference? And I have to say, I've said it many times, and let me be clear again, I condemn the KKK. I condemn all white supremacists. I condemn the Proud Boys. I don't know much about the Proud Boys, almost nothing, but I condemn that. But he should condemn also Antifa. Antifa is a horrible group of people. They kill people.
Yes, he should.
What they do to people, and they're causing insurrection, they're causing riots. He doesn't want to do that, but the press doesn't go after him, and that's a really bad group of people. But I condemn them, and if I say it 100 times, it won't be enough because it's fake news.
Mr. President, I played earlier. Joe Biden.
Okay, so there you go right there. So the president has condemned the white supremacist groups, and rightly so. All right, in closing here, let me just share this here with you there. I know Israel is on the verge of revealing their Messiah. They are very near to doing this. And this was kind of dropped in my lap, and I can't really say why, who, where, any of that kind of stuff. Major implications for disclosing who the Messiah figure actually is if it were to be released prematurely. And there have been a lot of people, including Adam Green with No More News, that have done pieces on this as far as looking at Jared Kushner as being a possible candidate as the Messiah figure. And even though I have been told that it is a former Israeli commander, I still just can't get away from Jared Kushner as being a possibility as well. Because you got to remember, there are two candidates for Messiah of Israel. There is a Mashiach ben David, which is the kingly priestly Messiah that brings peace. And then there is the Josephic Messiah that is basically a war Messiah, which really seems kind of odd because David is the man of war and Joseph was the man of peace. You know, you would think Israel would have it the other way around, but no, they don't. They have it just the opposite. Nonetheless, Israel does look at two possibilities, and so I am looking for the two possible candidates that Israel may have in mind, and Jared Kushner still, though, remains a possibility in my opinion. I did poke around a little bit when it comes to Yehuda Glick as possibly a candidate, but I was told he is not a strong candidate for Mashiach. So, and I have been told too that the revelation of who the Messiah would be when Israel announces it could cause global markets to come to a standstill. I don't know of anybody else that it could be then in that case than Jared, because I could see where if Israel announced Jared as a Messiah figure, well, maybe that could do that. But anybody else, I don't know. I don't know if that would have that type of effect on global economy. I could be wrong. There again, all this is speculation. I don't know for sure. All I can tell you is that Israel is nearing the time they want to reveal that first Messiah figure, which would be the Josephic Messiah. And I know that there has to be a war to do so, which is really that's terrible in itself. You're going to create a war and allow innocent people to die just to prove your point of a Messiah? I mean, this is totally wrong. That's why I say pray for the Jewish people. You know, this is my own ancestry as well. I care about the direction that they're going in, so please pray for them. They need Jesus Christ. They really do. And I just pray that God will have mercy upon the people of Israel and Jewish people all around the world, that there will be an awakening for these people. Anyway, I'm Stephen Ben-Nun. You're watching Israeli News Live, and good evening.